My notes?
Extensive and impressive.
But not too long.
No, that's good. My God, if we ever did do a second half of Voyager, the notes I've taken.
The notes I've taken, oh my God.
It's a lot.
Hello and welcome to Incomplete Geeks, a gay geek podcast where we talk about all sorts of geeky things. Sometimes we know exactly what we're talking about. Other times, our knowledge is a little bit
incomplete.
That's right. I'm John. That's Nick. This is a temp number. I don't know. I've lost count. But all you got to do is save the queer leader, save the world.
Oh, I love it!
Do you remember that?
It's like temp number. I was like, what are you talking about?
This is a temp number. See, if you don't get that reference, that's fine. Because
I don't get that one, but save the queer leader, save the world.
Save the queer leader. We are talking about Heroes today, the TV show from the mid-noughties. Mid-tweenies.
Noughties.
I forget now. I wrote it down. Hang on.
I was going to say, is it not in your extensive list
It's
of notes?
mid-noughties, yeah. The TV show created by Tim Kring, who is known for this show and
that's
the
it?
paraphernalia, as far as I know, yeah. You've seen the first two. There's been 4 seasons.
There were 4?
There were 4. Only 4.
That's enough.
4 years, from 2006 to 2010. And that line, this is a temp number, I don't know, I've lost count, is literally like the last line of the show.
Oh, then no.
And it's the cheerleader, Hayden Panettiere. And it's a reference to something she says very early in the season, maybe the first episode, I'm not sure, I didn't look into it. But where she's recording herself trying to like hurt herself and she's healing.
Oh,
do you remember?
yeah.
She's like, this is temp number 25. And she like jumps off a ladder or something like that. So it's a reference to that. But at the end of the show, she's trying to...
Yeah.
I've lost count. She's trying to... I think the implication is that she's going to release this video to the wider American world or whatever.
American world.
That's all we care about, though. The wider world, I guess. I don't know.
Just America.
You know how, like in True Blood, they had made a choice to sort of let the world know that vampires exist, whatever. Kind of like that. That was the implied direction that they were going to go in. But yeah, Heroes was short-lived. Some say it went too long. It was. I'm very upset that it was such a shitty show because it started off so strong.
So good. Season 1 was incredible.
It was decent.
I loved it. It was such a not a
was
slow burn, but it was such a like the blonde woman, and she had weird powers when she looked into a mirror. It was such a kind of like a tease of like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
But by season 3, it was like, oh, everyone's got powers and we're all flying around and shit. No, the mum's got powers too.
Yeah, that's fine. You've got a pretty good. That's a pretty good sort of overview of what I'm going to talk about. What I'm going to complain because we've had a few drinks.
Oh, yes, it's a drunk rant episode.
This is going to be a drunk rant. This is my idea of a drunk rant, and we're going to talk about. Well, what I'll do first is I'll explain the show in case there's anybody listening who hasn't seen it or has.
I've got to imagine why someone would click on it if they haven't seen it, but
because we're amazing and we're so funny. But why are we talking about Heroes, Nick? Why are we talking about Heroes TV show now in 2024 after 14 years after it was ended?
Are you upset because they're going to reboot it?
They're going to reboot it. Am I upset? Not yet.
Are you excited?
Am I excited? Abso-fucking-lutely not.
Oh, okay.
Not really. I mean, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because the TV show ran for 4 years. It ended. And they didn't know until 3 months after the final episode aired that it was canceled.
That they weren't going to come back.
Exactly. And then so 5 years later, the creator, Tim Kring, convinces the studio to make a Heroes Reborn miniseries type
Fuck off,
thing.
yes. I remember that.
In, I think, 2015. And it was shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they focus on Claire's dad as one of the main characters. The guy with the hat.
Horn
rim glasses guy, yeah. Whose name is Noah Bennett, if you remember that. It doesn't matter, but we'll get into that. And like they had a few cameos from the previous, but Claire's not in it. She's not in it. I mean, there's like archive footage, whatever, but she
was in Nashville at that point.
The actor had moved on. Susan probably isn't so like I'm the young blonde
Nashville.
white woman.
Nashville?
Is that a show or something? I don't know. Okay, fine.
I think it's a show. Yeah, with
Hayden Panettiere.
Hayden
I would
Panettiere
fully
and
believe
Bonnie
that she
someone,
went
yeah.
on to do another show.
She
where
was
she plays a country star.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. And,
Totally see that.
Yeah, and her mom was someone famous who I like, but can't remember her name. And it went on for ages, and there was some other dude in it. That's all I know.
That's like every TV show
Kind of.
ever. So why do we? I'm talking about, and I am.
So
speaking
wait,
for
so
everybody.
you think so? What's this reboot going to be about then?
I have no fucking idea. And the thing is, like at this point, at the time of recording, we don't know a lot about what it's about.
No.
And actually, we have been suggesting doing a Heroes drunk rant for a while because I could fucking drunk rant about it.
Yeah.
And I suggested it, like we put it in our schedule for this podcast. And then I saw the link that you sent to me where it was announced. It was just announced that they're considering doing
It's like in works, right? They're doing the workup of it.
like pre-production kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, this creator doesn't, and he just doesn't want to let it go, which is fair because it's a great idea.
It started well and ended so poorly.
Ended so poorly.
You can understand why he wants to.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't want to. I get that. That's not why you want it to be the last thing people remember. But there's a lot riding on this TV show, on this new one, if it's going to be a new one. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Go back and listen to our drunk rant about
Everything
reboots,
yeah,
reboots, to see if statistically these ever work out to be a good idea. Because
Spoiler: rarely. The answer
Like-
is rarely.
no.
I mean,
40, 30, like we had some good ones.
there were some good ones.
Was some
I can't think of any of them at the moment, but that's why you go back to our drunk rant episode about reboots.
DuckTales, She-Ra,
DuckTales, yeah.
Buffy.
Buffy
It's like my
was-
entire
Yeah, that's it.
personality. That's my whole personality. Is those reboots.
Star Trek was the reboot when they came out.
Ugh,
Anyway,
yeah, but that was a bad one. Anyway, listen to it if you want.
Anyway.
So yes, given its history, reboot doesn't necessarily bode well for it.
doesn't bode well. But the reason that we liked it so much, and I've thought about this in like the last 24 hours, but I thought about why we liked it, is because it was basically a comic book show.
Yeah.
And so much down to even like the formatting of it, like the way that the words on the screen were represented and whatever else. It was set up like a comic book show. The creator wanted to, instead of having seasons, he wanted volumes. That's the word he wanted to use, volumes. So season 1 was pretty much volume 1. That was the story that you have, because obviously when you start a new show, you have years and years to think about it, work on it, develop it story-wise. Once you get greenlit for like season 2, you don't have that time to think of season 2. So, and we'll get into other things as well, because that was the time when the first writer's strike happened, and that really impacted the show to a degree.
At what point in its filming?
So the writer's strike happened. It was late 2007.
3 gens in.
My accents, my Wisconsin accent's coming out a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like 2007, and it was like halfway through the season. So basically, that season 2 was a bit truncated. That was the first season where they wanted to make the whole, American seasons are like 24, 22 episodes long. So he wanted season 2 to consist of actually 3 volumes at the time, which then got shortened to 1.
Yeah.
One of those other 2 volumes was scrapped altogether. The third one became the beginning of season 3. Does that make sense?
It does. That's why it sucks.
It was half of a season, and it was just done poorly. It was done so badly. There were many things wrong with it, which I will get into. But season 3 tried to pick up a little bit, but it just didn't get that momentum going, and it was also kind of bad still for other reasons. And then season 4 was like the last ditch effort kind of thing, was just 1 volume, and it just flopped. It was just bonkers and weird, and why? People are like, why? And also, like you said before, everyone's got a fucking power now. And the people we cared about, not to spoil anything what I'm talking about, but the people we care about have seen being developed with these powers suddenly don't have powers, or they have different powers, or it's not kept consistent. My overall, if you don't listen to any more of this episode, just know that the whole reason I'm drunk ranting about it is because it's not consistent. That's the theme. and like a lawyer presenting his case and opening
That's
statements.
bad storytelling. That's bad writing.
I will tell you why I will go into details why I feel this way.
So, I watched 1 and 2 and gave up on 3. Are you able to kind of do a little rundown of what happened in season 1 and season 2, and then what happened after I stopped watching in 3?
Kind of.
In 4. Do you remember?
I haven't.
Do we want to get an episode list up? Would that help or something like that?
I didn't print off those 72 pages.
No, we don't need 72 pages, but we can get... Would that help? Not really.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be looking at every single episode like
individually. No, but would it jog
but
your memory to kind of remember what happened?
Yeah, fine. So get that up, and I'll tell you what I remember. Because basically, I haven't seen these episodes since they were out. Basically, I watched them hoping that they'd get better, and they just never did. And I was just so annoyed about how it went. So brief rundown of the setup of the show, and actually this kind of leads into why season 1 was so good. It's basically like I said, it's a comic book show where people normal humans suddenly discover that they've got superpowers, and you watch them come to grips with the extent of their powers and how it interacts with their normal life, how they deal with it. Like many of these people have families, they have jobs, and how having, if you suddenly had a superpower, like how would that fuck you up? And so you get to go along these characters' journeys, and that's a great way to storytell. And it basically is, it's sort of a lot of these powers are similar to X-Men powers as well. So we get to see X-Men type powers represented in completely different people. Like instead of Kitty Pryde phasing, you've got this tall, black, slightly abusive father who can phase through walls and stuff in people's heads.
Really?
And stuff like that. Yeah. Do you remember this guy?
No.
So we'll get into the characters a bit if you want to, but like there's he was Micah's father. So the blonde woman that looked into mirrors and seeing, that was actually meant to be like I think it was meant to be like a dissociative identity disorder, which was all the rage at the time.
Oh god, and she got different powers later on, didn't she?
Yes, that's one of the things I'm gonna fucking read.
Hated it.
That was so dumb.
I hated that.
But you know what their excuse was?
What?
They were triplets.
Fuck off.
No, right? Anyway, so the person that she was seeing was kind of her twin, but also she had a bit of a mental disorder. So cringe. Anyway, that's the fate. So like superpowers that you see on different people. So it's like, what if somebody with the mentality of Wolverine had phasing abilities, for example? Like, what kind of would that happen? What would that be?
Because it came out in 2006.
6.
So X-Men and X-Men 2 would have been out in theaters already. So the world kind of knew of this sort of leather-wearing, non-comic booky, but comic booky kind of superpowered
So superheroes
stuff.
are in the public
in
realm.
the main public realm sort of thing, and people are familiar. Yeah, but before MCU does the colorful characteristic you want.
Exactly. Just pre-MCU. I think this is like, when did Netflix come out? So it was pre-Netflix, so Netflix didn't have a chance of. People watching. Lost had been out for like 3 years by this point, so people like sci-fi is a big thing. They wanted this to be the next Lost, basically.
Yeah, it did feel very much like a grab for that kind of audience.
So in the first episode, you have people coming to grips with their powers, and then one of them who can travel through time. He's a very cute character. He's like kind of a boyish, childish. You remember Hero? He's like suddenly fast forwards to, I think it's 6 months in the future, and sees the destruction of New York City in like sort of a post-apocalyptic world. And so the whole first series has to be about how do they stop that, obviously, prevent it from happening, because that's kind of how you deal with future
Save the cheerleader.
Save the cheerleader. Meanwhile, there's an Indian man trying to research why this
has
happened.
The
Doctor Dude. There's a mysterious organization who's trying to hunt down and either capture or kill or terminate these people with powers.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there's a mysterious villain who has powers, who's hunting other people with powers, slowly absorbing their powers somehow. So there's like mystery upon layer, and these characters come together. It's such a good concept, right?
It was good. It felt very 2000s as I'm watching it in my head again. It felt that very 2000s look where it's like very blue light and stylized and big
And-
dramatic stuff.
So yeah, great concept. Characters that every single episode felt like it progressed the story somewhat. And what happened was that first season, the whole show over the course of 4 years had 8 Emmy nominations and 1 Golden Globe win. The premiere of the second season was its highest ever viewership, which is 17 million people watched it. By the end of the show, how much had that 17 million gone down to?
1 million.
4.
Okay.
4 million. So it's like, how is this award-winning show? What happened? So
Who
you've
are
got
the characters?
The characters.
So we've got Claire Bennett.
Hold on, Claire Bennett, the blonde cheerleader who
Yeah.
has like regenerative abilities. Save the cheerleader, save the world. We're not quite sure what she does, but she's the kind of person who's like learning. She's kind of a POV. Well, they're all kind of POV characters because everyone's new to it. So
She does seem the most important. Save the cheerleader, save
Yeah.
the world.
So she's very much like coming to, we want her to survive the most,
Uh-huh.
the main protagonist. You've got, I know there's lots. I'll tell you the important ones.
No, but like it's good to look at them and recognize them because I was like, I forgot. I remember her. I remember Peter Petrelli,
Okay, so Peter Petrelli is the nurse,
Milo Ventimiglia.
Ventimiglia, who we know from This Is Us. Have you seen This Is Us?
I have.
So cry-worthy. Everything
I
cry.
remember him from this.
You don't.
I didn't
You do.
watch. I didn't watch
No.
all of This Is Us. It got too.
Oh,
much.
no. I watched the
It
first
got
season.
too-
I had to stop.
I didn't finish that.
So we talked about Peter can he's an empath who can take on the abilities of other people just by coming into contact with them.
But he can keep the powers, right?
I thought he couldn't keep the powers, but this is one of the things that annoyed me
Inconsistent.
because it wasn't consistent. Either he kept some but
No.
didn't keep other. He came into contact with people who had powers and didn't get their powers. Maybe it's
No.
an active choice, whatever.
I don't like that.
His character is, again, he's like the main hero because he's the one that has like the most going on.
He's very self-righteous, but also sexy. So
People thought he
That's
was
fine.
sexy. I don't know. He was a bit too clean shaven for me.
I know he's not clean-shaven. He's not in This Is Us, is he?
No.
He's a beardo weirdo. Nikki Sanders.
So Nikki's the sort of the other blonde woman. She's got super strength, which is great because she's the
It
only.
looked good. It was a cool look. And I liked the dissociative disorder. I liked all of that. But her powers was uncomplicated. It was more about her character rather
Yeah.
than blah, 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 powers. It
super
was-
strength.
Yep. But it's more about what she was going through.
Yeah, and she
dealing
had
with that.
her child Micah. She had to look after the child, who's got like technological powers, whatever.
Yeah.
He could interact with machines, whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a time I'm probably remembering this poorly, but the father, who was called DL, he was a bit sort of shady
Who's
morally.
gay in real life?
Is he?
He's the one from Angel, right?
Oh yeah. What's the actress called again?
Leonard Roberts.
Leonard Roberts. Yes, he's the
Who
black.
was-
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I forgot about that.
Who's a homosexual.
Oh,
Just keeping it on trend here.
I
we go.
forgot about
Coming
that.
back to
Well,
the.
This is why
This is a
why
gay geek podcast.
It's a gay geek. This is why this podcast is a duo because I would not have gotten that. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's attractive.
We got Matt Parkman.
So Matt Parkman is played by Greg Grunberg, who's in everything, whatever. He's
Yeah.
basically the telepath.
He sure is.
That's all. That's it. And he's a bit. I get sort of annoyed with Matt Parkman because he's just seems like a bit of a wet rag.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But that was good for his character. He was wet rag, kind of like. Oh,
telepath. Yeah.
well,
I don't know. Well,
he wasn't emmering it.
He wasn't. Yeah, he's not a Professor X kind
No.
of telepath. Hero was the boyish character who was discovering, who basically like. I read something. Someone compared him to compared to Billy Bragson, Shazam, the guy who becomes Shazam,
Billy
Batson,
Oh.
because he's like he just wants superpowers and he finally has them.
Oh yeah.
But of
I mean,
course-
he gets them pretty early on, though, right?
He does get them early on, but he just sort of like wills it into existence.
Good
whatever.
powers as well. Teleporting and time traveling. Good powers.
Exactly. So it reminds me of number 5 from the
Oh, yeah,
Umbrella
yeah.
Academy. So he
Yeah.
does the same thing. But yeah, also he and Peter and Siler are the 3 who just have like the possibility to go so superpower that's ridiculous, which messes with the the storytelling a little bit.
So Siler,
So Siler, played by Zachary Quinto,
another homosexual,
another homo, yeah. He arguably,
was brilliant. I thought he was great. I'm sorry if that you don't agree.
I do agree. I think
cool.
I think the actor's brilliant. I think he's really good.
So fucking terrifying in that. I thought he was great.
Wasn't he in American Horror Story as well?
Possibly, but that was way after this, right?
Oh yeah. This was his breakthrough role basically, and
Yeah.
he's the most. I think he's the actor of all these people who had the most success afterwards. No, am I forgetting somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll get to it. But Siler is basically like the villain who's only like recurring, like in the shadows season 1, but then it becomes main cast, and he's just so misused. He's so misused.
Well, after he's been revealed.
After he becomes, oh my god, should we finish the character?
Yeah,
list,
let's
then
go
we'll
through the
get-
characters.
yeah.
So I've also got Nathan Petrelli, so Peter's brother.
He's like the politician brother, and he's got to have
Eyebrows. Yeah.
eyebrows. Yeah, he can fly, big whoop.
yeah,
but
whatever.
anyway, it's an important for storytelling.
Yeah.
Especially because of the end of the first season. But then his main thing is like, how does he divide his time between being a politician, a normal politician, human, whatever, and also being a superhero?
Could be interesting.
Yeah.
So this person isn't famous from Heroes, but they were in Heroes.
Yeah.
This is the bigger name.
Okay, which one?
Kristen Bell.
Oh, Kristen Bell, yeah. No, because she was
Elle
in...
Bishop.
Yeah, she plays Elle. She comes in the second season, unfortunately. But she's a bit sort of like...
What is
she's
her powers? Is she the flamethrower?
Electricity. No,
she's
she's
electricity. Yeah.
And she was kind of a baddie. But then...
Yeah, she was chasing someone. She
I don't
killed
remember.
some people.
Her and her dad...
Couldn't have done some research, John. Couldn't have learned what the characters
This
did.
is the result of my research. I was like, oh yeah, Kristen Bell was in it. But I think she'd been in Veronica Mars.
Yes, she definitely done Veronica Mars. So she wasn't famous from this. She'd done a lot.
Right.
But, you know, she went on to
She
even
was-
bigger things.
She's main cast for like one season only, but she was in the show in the third season.
Like, I recognized her, so she'd already been famous. Who's Candace?
I don't fucking know.
Candace Will something. I don't know.
What's the actor?
Missy Peregrine?
Oh, she was the shapeshifter. I think. And I think, yeah, so I'm trying to remember, in season 2, she's Nikki for a bit, and then Siler, she works for the mysterious organization, the company, and traps Siler, and basically convinces, how does she do it? I don't remember. Anyway, she gets killed by Siler, and he takes her powers.
That's a shame. Mohinder. We've already
Mohinder
talked
is
about.
the doctor, yeah.
Dr. Mohinder.
Doesn't have any powers.
Noah Bennett.
Noah Bennett's Claire's dad,
The horned rim glove.
horn rim glasses man, yeah. So he's the guy who works for the mysterious organization, and it's revealed later that he's Claire's dad as like a shock twist. It's her
In
father.
season 1.
In
Not biological father, though.
Oh yeah, he's not biological father. Do you remember? How do you remember that?
Do you remember who is the
The
biological father?
woman who could explode, she could create
it's
fire
Nathan.
or whatever.
The biological father is
Oh, I don't know.
Nathan.
No, I don't remember
Isn't it?
that. The mother was the one who could sort of
The
make
fire one. The flame
Yeah.
one. From Glee.
Yes.
I clearly remember this. Stan Lee was apparently in it as well.
No, don't remember Stanley being in the show.
I'm just going through my Google list. Isaac Mendes? Who's that?
Isaac Mendez was the painter in the first season, I think.
Who is Isaac Mendes?
He's the one who could paint.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Tell the future. Which, to be honest, was the most boring part of the first season.
Oh,
I'm not sad that he died.
He looks hot in that picture, but he's the guy
Yeah.
from Picard.
Oh, is he?
Who's not hot
What,
enough.
the pilot from
Yeah.
Picard?
Who's not hot enough to be
Shut
the hot
up.
guy.
The
in
pilot from Picard is
Yeah.
the painter from Heroes.
I feel like he had long hair in Heroes, right?
I don't remember. He was so uninteresting to me because the thing is, like, if you
so
can tell the
vague.
future, but you can only express it through painting. Like, I'm bored.
That sounds
Sorry.
familiar. And Ando was Hero's friend, right?
Yeah, Hero's friend who was just like the straight guy.
Human, right?
Human, yeah.
Plain old human. We're getting into the weeds now because
Fine.
I don't recognize these faces.
I don't remember who else there is, actually. Those are the main ones. So
Yeah, for sure.
Dania Ramirez, who's been in other things as well, she played I want to say Colombian, somebody from South America, where she creates poison from her body, and her brother's the only one who can sort of mitigate it. And George Takei was in it.
Good old George. Good old George.
As Hero's father, yeah.
Oh, God, playing into that time.
Those are the main ones, I'll say. You got all the main ones. Yeah, so good.
I remember Jaima got killed by Sylar.
Who?
Jaima Hayes, the ginger one. Because she was ugly as well, and it was really shocking death when he ripped her head off.
She was the waitress.
Diner. Yeah.
She was the waitress, yeah.
Because it was good.
Because
it was like, ooh, look, we're a little superhero show, and then just sliced her fucking head off.
Yeah, because that's how we did it.
Fuck, it was good.
And going in, that's how like the storytelling in the first season was so good because you got bits and bits more how this villain Sylar got the powers, and so it had to do something with their heads. They were being killed, something with their brains, etc. And actually, Claire, that waitress, Hero goes back in time to try to save her, and like kind of he's still learning his powers, whatever, and goes too far. Nice story.
Where's Wesley? He was the hot one.
Wesley.
So he was like a boy that kind of dated Claire for a little bit, and he could fly. So hot.
I forgot this character because that was so uninteresting. This love interest. Okay,
he was so hot. I like him.
Let's discuss the reasons why it started to go down in season 2.
Nicholas D'Agostino. Here he is.
Wes Rosen.
Yeah.
And his name is fucking West.
Yes, but his name's Nicholas in real life.
But his name is
West.
West.
How cute he is. No, it wasn't. It was Wes.
West. As in the compass direction.
Oh, that's stupid.
Unless it's maybe like a really wanky short form of Wesley, maybe.
Look how cute he is.
No. I mean, I get it, but not for me. You can have that one, Nick.
Yummers. Oh, he was in Masters of Sex. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to watch that.
Okay.
Ooh, let's go on his Instagram. Yeah, carry on.
Focus back on me now.
Yeah,
I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
So, everybody comes together to stop Sylar from blowing up New York City, whatever. What happens is they find, like the penultimate episode, maybe the one before that, they find
of season 1.
They find somebody who can emit radiation, but he can't control it. So he accidentally kills his wife or girlfriend or whatever. And then Sylar gets hold of him. I forget how they stop Sylar, but Peter Petrelli absorbs the power and it's about to explode. And then his brother comes and they fly up in the air together, and the explosion happens up in the higher echelons of the atmosphere, whatever, so that it doesn't hurt anybody. Crisis averted, world saved. I don't know all the details, but that's basically the gist of it, right? Okay, it's fun, good. Hero zaps in with a sword, stabs Sylar, and then disappears. We were like, oh, who's that? And so a lot of mysteries are left at the end of the first season. Like, what happens to Nathan and Peter up in the air? Hero zaps in, zaps away. We don't know what happened to him. Where's everybody else? What's happening? Season 2 starts, and the title is literally 4 months later.
Right.
Okay? So we don't get answers to any of these things. We don't know what happened exactly to Nathan and Peter. We don't know what happened to Hero or Sylar. All we know is that suddenly Sylar is in custody by the company. Hero is suddenly in like mid 18th century Japan or something like that. Do you remember this? And Peter is in Ireland. Yep. Peter's in Ireland, and Nathan is an alcoholic with a beard who doesn't see his children anymore. And we are not told what, at the beginning of the season 2, we don't know what happened. And so the mystery, we just saved the world. 17 million people tune into this season 2 premiere. And it's like, what the fuck is the biggest reaction? Like, huh? People lost it. Not lost it, but maybe they lost it, but they also kind of lost the desire to continue because they didn't have any of these cliffhangers answered. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's just the people that I remember, basically. Season 2 is supposed to be about this virus that kills people or starts spreading, and so instead of the first season being a bomb they have to stop that causes the apocalypse. They have to stop this virus, and it's just not as impactful. Partly because we're stuck with how did Peter get to Ireland? Why is Nathan an alcoholic? How did Hero get to, medieval Japan? And who is this weirdo who's this English white guy who has a British accent?
Something Anders. Yes, I remember him. Yes, because I fancied him too. And he was in iZombie, and he wasn't very hot in that. But
he was cute, but I'm like, he's not that I'm against Americans having British accents, but I'm like, why does he have an accent? Like, why is he British?
Was he fake English?
But the thing is, I think he had been, that actor had been fake English in a previous show. So
and that's what confused me, and I don't remember who he is or what I'd seen him in, but I remember thinking, and then when I found out he's American, I'm like,
you're like,
is this what you do now?
Yeah, this is what he does.
So you're just lies.
You're like, oh, he lives in LA. Instead of getting, this is 2006 or whatever. Instead of getting a British actor, let's just get somebody who can do an accent, because no one's gonna know the difference.
Get a local dude who's cheaper than flying.
He's cheaper, yeah.
So when does Mohinder turn into like a spider thing and start experimenting on himself?
I don't remember when that is.
Do you remember anything from this show?
Fuck off! Remember more than you do.
Do you?
I don't know when, because Ando injects him. There's an injection they inject himself. That was when, it must have been 3. I think it was 3, because everyone's just becoming a superhero. Like Ando gets the power to amplify other people's powers, which I remember at the time being like, oh, this could be really interesting if he's put with other people.
I'm assuming it's not interesting
because it's like it becomes an alternate reality and they just go back to normal. It's not sort of, it's not story-wise, it's not developed anything that could be interesting. So season 2, let's talk about Hero in Japan. It just annoyed the fuck out of me. They spent like half the season in Japan just walking around, some kind of love interest, and I'm just like, fucking get a hold of your powers so they can go back to the main timeline. Forget this guy who's obviously like a charlatan of some sort. Just leave him. They just, whatever. It just dragged and dragged and dragged.
There's only 11 episodes in season 2. It can't have dragged that long.
Longer than it should have. It felt long. Yeah. And it felt, I didn't realize this at the time, but I read somewhere that basically what they had to do is they had to, instead of letting these people fully flesh out their power set, they're too powerful, we got to put a stop to it. So Siler's in custody, Peter's got amnesia in Ireland.
Not amnesia, guys.
Yes, amnesia. And Hero's stuck in the past.
Oh, and then what is it? Nikki's long-lost identical twin sister.
Twin triplet sister, yeah.
Oh my god, it's literally her long-lost identical twin sister, triplet sister. Oh my god, fuck off.
I forget how she dies. She
sacrifices herself, doesn't she? Is that season 1 or 2?
2.
So she's like...
She's in 2.
Normal Nikki.
She's Nikki.
Is it Nikki? Am I making that up?
Yes. No, it is Nikki.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nikki. And then she dies in season 2, and then this duplicate of hers appears, and we're like, hang on. I remember thinking, like, why does Nikki suddenly have the power of freezing things and people?
The thing is, if they'd set that up, feels very Emma Frost. Very Emma Frost and the Cuckoos. Which is kind of...
But they weren't super strong.
The Cuckoos?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Did they all look the same?
Yes, because they were quintuplets. Quintuplets that were actually revealed to be Emma Frost children, and they're all... but whatever, but yes. And that feels very... Oh, look, they're all the same. That sort of stuff. If they'd revealed little bits of that beforehand... Like, the fact that, she's talking to herself in the mirror... That could have gone then, and then that sort of stuff. That would have been fine, but it felt so much like a kick in the face of like this, there's a dramatic death, but don't worry, we've got the actress she can do something else.
Do something else.
It just ruined
not just the twin that she was seeing in the mirror or anything.
Yeah.
No, just a third sister.
Because they didn't explain why the other twin was in the mirror or anything like that. No. Did they?
It was no. I think it was. I don't remember if it was canon or if it was just implied that it was just dissociative identity disorder.
Just implied,
which was all the rage back in the day.
Oh, they love that. They just love that. Yeah.
TV shows, movies, whatever. But like, it's just a gut punch.
Yeah, that sucked.
Like you said. So Hero's stuck in Japan. Peter's in Ireland with this girlfriend called Caitlin, I think. Caitlin, and she's a bit of a. I think there's.
Does she have powers too?
She's got no powers, but she does have ties to the IRA. I might be. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she's a bit of a modern terrorist in a way. I think. Allegedly, whatever. So that's kind of boring. He doesn't remember his abilities or his powers or whatever. So it kind of feels like, so now we have to sort of go through this character development again. Somehow, I don't remember if it's Hero or not, but somehow he gets transported to the distant future.
Yeah.
And sees the results of this pathogen, this virus, whatever, that has rampaged through not just the superhero population. I don't want to say mutant. I think they're called mutants, but like the human,
Heroes.
like it just takes down the population. And there's an episode where he goes to the future with his girlfriend, and then somehow comes back to the present, knowing that there's the pandemic that has to be stopped. Whatever the word pandemic, yes, indeed. Before, yeah. How prescient. But the girlfriend doesn't come back with him. She's in the future. She's literally stuck in the future, and he never mentions her again. Never mentions her again.
Because that's a cool, horrible twist.
That's horrible.
She's stuck in the future, and he's got to go and...
Yeah, but he never does. He never does. Because basically, I mean, if he could sort of take Hero's power, maybe he could travel himself. I honestly don't remember. I don't think it's important. But she gets left in the future, so dumb. They never speak about her again, kind of like Meghan Markle in Fringe. You remember her being in Fringe? Never mentioned again.
Go back and listen to our Fringe episode.
Yeah, we talk about Fringe. That's another me episode, basically. But then he stopped. The spoiler alert: like he does stop the pandemic, which isn't as interesting as the bomb. But like, what happens to her? She's never mentioned again. Like, does the fact that he changed the future now mean that she doesn't exist in that alternate timeline, or is she just dead? Or does the world change around her or something? Like, it's no.
So that's season 2?
That's 2.
What happens in 3? Because I started watching 3 because I was still into it. I remember vividly, I think I was in Dubai when I was watching it. I vividly remember the moment when I stopped watching was when the mum got powers. When Nathan and Peter's mum also has powers. I'm like, this is crap. I'm done. I'm not doing this.
I remember this. So Nathan and Peter's mom, Angela, and they meet their father as well. Their father has like some, oh my gosh, father, we haven't seen you forever. But it turns out he has some dastardly plan as well to steal Peter's powers or something. I don't remember exactly.
Yes, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because obviously she's been in the show since season 1, they're like, how do we give her a power that isn't really obvious? Anyway, she can dream. She has like precognitive dreams. Which is a bit of a all right, fine, whatever.
Okay, sure.
But then I think later it becomes more of a power where she can influence other people's dreams as well. I don't know. Maybe that might be. I don't remember that, so it could be the non-canon sort of expanded.
The only thing they do consistently is inconsistency.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way, like Nathan, who just exploded last season. There's no reference to him surviving or what happened to him after the exploding up in midair with Peter. Much less Peter surviving. Yeah, how does Nathan survive? Another plot hole. Anyway, Sylar.
Right.
I forgot to mention that. I'm just reading off my list here.
Oh.
The fact that, it's not explained. Whatever. So, the company that Claire's dad works for has captured Sylar, and they're sort of keeping him in custody. The one thing that annoys me about Sylar as a character is that they've developed this sort of character who can grow so strong so quickly. His power set, his original power set, is actually very clever. So he's got the power to, what do they call it? Like power of intuition.
Like he looks at stuff and he knows how it works.
He knows how it works, exactly. Yeah. So it's really interesting how, I remember the backstory episode of him, he was like, his father was like a watchmaker or watch repairer or whatever. And that fits. I love that concept.
It's great power.
He can understand how powers work, but in doing so, he has to cut off people's heads and open up the brains and look at this. Open up the skulls, look at the brains, kind of thing. Fiddle with it. There's a really interesting time because again, I think it might be the first series, but when he's chasing after Claire, the cheerleader, because he wants her powers regenerative, so we can't die. And everyone's like, oh no, we have to save the cheerleader, save the world, kind of thing. And he catches her, chops off the top of her head, but she doesn't die because she's obviously regenerates. And so like you see him like fiddling around with her brain, like, where's this? How does it work? Aha, I found it. Whatever. Very clever, very good. But then by the time they get to the second season, they kind of forgotten everything that he's acquired, which annoys me so much. I don't remember if they have, if at this point they have the telepath come in or not, but they convince at the end of season 2, because Siler's kind of not the baddie in season 2. They have Matt's dad, the telepath's dad, who's also a telepath, is kind of the villain.
Oh,
they call him the Nightmare Man because he casts nightmares. Whatever.
Vaguely remember. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
But then he kind of gets sort of defeated really quickly, and it becomes about the virus. Whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of season 2, Nathan and Peter's mom tells Siler that she's his mom as well, and he believes her, and we believe her as well. So Peter and Siler are brothers, and, Nathan as well, I guess, but we care about Peter and Siler because they're like the nemesis of each other, whatever. And so he decides to be good in season 3. So he goes. He gets into a fight. So I remember this in season 2. There's a really good scene where Elle, the electricity person, is like viewing a fight between I think it's Nathan and Siler, like through a keyhole, and like the electricity, like you just see her eye watching, and then at the end, I forget when exactly, but Siler kills Nathan, like kills him, but because he's got the power of shapeshifting that he got from.
Yep.
Calamity, whatever her name is.
I forgot already.
Matt, the telepath, convinces him in his head to pose as Nathan for the betterment of hero kind or whatever. And so all through season 1, he's convinced Siler to take on the guise of Nathan. Meanwhile, there's like Siler's actual sort of psyche is stuck in Matt's head. As like, let me out, you fucker. I want to, get back into my body, whatever. And so the whole series about Siler trying to be good, struggling with it. And there's also scenes where like he clearly has the ability to like hear from at long distances. But then the next episode, they're like, at the car and he can't tell what they're saying in the house kind of thing on the sidewalk, whatever. And it's just like, it's not consistent. And I remember that moment being like, what the fuck? You just got this. I think it was like from a car mechanic who had the ability to sort of hear tiny things, whatever. And he literally does not use it in the very next episode. And I was like, this shit's going down the tubes.
It's like an old 80s cartoon where they're like, oh, in one episode you can do this. Oh, and the other one's like, it's just bad. It's just shit writing, guys. Come on.
It's shit writing. One review that I read said it was a show that buckled under the weight of its own mythology, which is really true because it couldn't keep its head on straight. Peter's dad kind of depowers Peter in a way that he can only have one ability at a time, which I thought would have been clever, something to do at the end of the first season to make him stop, instead of having accumulating all these powers,
keep getting more and more,
or like have them at for a short time,
rogue style,
exactly, rogue style, very good, but they didn't. They just like whatever. It was just gonna make it. It was just so. I think if I'm not wrong, I honestly remember this.
We're often wrong on this show.
Wrong. I think Arthur's dad. Okay, let's get into this because I have a nitpick about powers and how powers work. I should write about superhero powers, whatever. So
it's almost as if you have like a gay geek nerdy podcast or something about it.
Almost,
talk about
it. If only I had a podcast, I could talk about this. I know. The coolest thing you can do with superpowers. And people with superpowers, is to have a character that can nullify them or change them, like permanently, or not. But the thing is, if you tell a story and you have a narrative where you set up a world where people have superpowers, like whatever world you write about, whatever, like that's the world. If it's all science-based, you're like, okay, well then it's the real world. If it's the real world but with a few twists, like aliens exist, whatever, and that's the world you have your story in. If you have a world where superpowers exist, then that's the most loose kind of storytelling you can have. But then those are the parameters of your story. And so to mess with those parameters is really interesting. So you have a character in Arthur Petrelli who can permanently change your powers or take them away. And it just simply was not used. It was only used as a plot device to change Peter's powers.
And that was it.
And that was it. If they had used that and they had kept track of what powers who had what, that would have been so much more interesting. And it would have allowed them to play with the narrative a lot more. But they just didn't. They just chose not to. I forget what happens to the dad, but he kind of turns out to be like the reveal twist baddie, and then he's disposed of. I forget exactly how he meets his end, whatever.
So is that season 3?
That's kind of season... Well, that's like... Yeah, that's half of season 3 or end of season 3. I don't remember.
It finishes... The last episode is called An Invisible Thread. Nathan faces off against Siler. What do you fucking do?
Oh, so that must be where he dies then.
While Siler has his own plans for a new partner, Hero learns that there are repercussions to regaining his ability, and Matt is forced to go to extraordinary lengths to protect his future. Oh,
okay.
So boring.
By the way that they have to depower Hero is he's got a brain tumor.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I think it may have stuck around.
Because they just, oops, we made him too powerful.
Yeah.
One thing that I read is that the creator of the show intended these volumes to have a rotating cast of characters. So he wanted to continually sort of introduce new ones and leave the old ones behind. But unfortunately, the first season was way too popular, and it's successful. And
you can't just change.
The network probably was the one who was like, no, we want to keep these people.
Yeah, the difference between, like, what you said earlier on was a really good point. Like, how the creator would have had all this time to plot and create the ideas for season 1.
Yeah.
And then it gets picked up for season 2. You're like, okay.
Yeah, you have 3 months to
write
figure
everything.
Out. Yeah.
It didn't seem the same show in that regard. So what happens in season 4?
Season 4 is about a circus. It's literally a circus. And
Shut up.
Wait.
No, it's not.
Before we talk about season 4, let me rant about the other character who can change powers. And then I'll come back to this other one as well. So, the company, Noah Bennett's company, employs a character that is referred to only as the Haitian for a long time.
Yes, I thought he wasn't in our list of characters.
Was he not?
I couldn't see him because I remember the Haitian, and I was like, Jimmy Jean Lewis. He's right at the bottom. That's racist.
He's arguably the most interesting character because he has the ability to nullify other people's characters. And again, why they didn't use... Yeah, basically... He comes close to other people with powers, and their powers go away. And so like I was saying before, if you have a narrative where everyone's got powers and you're learning how to use them and how they interact with each other, et cetera,
well, it's a fun vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, imagine Leech, for example. Doesn't Leech have the power to amplify or nullify other people's powers? Like, that's really interesting because suddenly, like, they could have easily solved the Siler or Peter problem by having this Haitian sort of stay in, Okay, imagine a scenario like this. Peter, who's still learning how his empath abilities work, remembers everyone's power. He sort of kind of can make them work, but he's not sure if he can hold on to them for a long time. He's gathering all these powers. He's becoming a bit like Legion, where he just sort of takes every power ability, and he can do all these things. He can sort of manipulate. He's got telekinesis. He can fly, whatever else. Why didn't he fly by himself at the end of the first season? He could have just gone by himself. He can copy his brother's power.
And he had his brother's power.
So why did
he'd already copied it, didn't he? Like, that was one of his journey, was he's stepped out onto...
Yeah, because Doctor Who pushes him off the building, whatever.
Doctor Who?
Christopher Eccleston. Oh, you're doing a thing. Christopher Eccleston, who's like very briefly in the first season as a guy who became invisible, a very interesting power.
It's great power.
How come Peter never goes invisible after that? Because he can't hold on to the powers. Anyway, they just were consistent. The Haitian could have come in and been like, just coming into proximity with Peter, and Peter slowly is like losing all of his memories. Same with Siler. It could have been like, I know I've all of these powers that I know how they work. I can copy them and do them. And then as the Haitian comes into close to him, he sort of realize he's losing. He doesn't remember. He's like, oh, I forgot how my intuition is not gone there anymore. Could have been so interesting. Could have been like a wipe.
It does feel like a victim of circumstance, like the fact that it had to rush, or not rush. It was normal production. It had to do a season 2, and I was not ready for it. And the fact that season 2 was fucked by the writer's strike, and then all of that. This just seems like it was not destined to be. Could have been a one-off miniseries.
I don't know. Like, the writer's strike should have given him more opportunity to think more about how the story would go.
Yeah, but he couldn't.
He couldn't write it.
The writers couldn't write.
He himself, the creator, could have written, just not sold it, whatever. I guess that's kind of working, I suppose.
It is working.
He did pick it against his own show, though. To be fair, to his own network.
Good on him. So
season 4 is about a circus. They're
all in the circus together. Or
the
something.
Circus leader, the ringleader, is a guy called Samuel something, and he's basically got the power to manipulate Earth. Okay.
Samuel Sulis.
Sure.
Some old guy.
Fine. He's a white. So he can manipulate Earth, but his powers grow stronger the more other superheroes are around him in a way. So he's telling people that he wants to get a big festival where all the heroes are invited, and they can start telling the world that they exist. How this turns into like a world-threatening event, I'm not sure, but he's just basically going to kill a lot of people in the process. Kill a lot of humans or non-mutants, not mutants, but whatever. He's a bad guy.
It's coming off the rails here, isn't it?
I'm okay.
Oh,
I can't.
dear.
And there's like one of his, because it's a circus, they're all kind of like circus freaks kind of thing. Again, a good idea.
It's a cool concept.
Yeah. Well, let's have a circus with these mutants who can't, find any other home than with people of their own kind.
Like the Morlocks.
Like the Morlocks, exactly. I'm annoyed at this character.
I'm sensing this.
Because I think, again, the concept of geokinesis or whatever you call it, like geomancy, whatever, is so, again, underutilized.
Earthbending, it's a cool fucking power.
Earthbending is so cool.
Imagine quite expensive to CGI though. It's quite a complicated.
How is it less CGI than pyrokinesis?
Because it affects how people move and stand, and fire doesn't. You just like, oh god, it's fire, that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Whereas,
I suppose.
I'm just trying to think. Invisibility. It's like you're just not.
We'll just take you out of the frame.
Like, go up, sit over there. That sort of stuff.
Flight. You can just give them wires and CGI the wires out. Okay, fine, I get it. But
I'm just thinking and it affects things on a different scale. And as we've seen from live action Avatar, if it's done badly, it looks real bad. I'm just thinking.
But you haven't seen the live action.
So the film,
Earthbound. The film doesn't exist. Why can't we just sort of let's just believe that we're in a universe where that live action film does not exist? We'll call it the anti-mental. Anyway, earthbending, geokinesis, whatever. Yeah. It's underused. Basically, it just in this show, there's a scene where he finally uses his powers. He shows how power works, and he basically makes a house collapse. That's it, because of the earthquake, whatever. And it's really, really boring. Another point, boring. He buries Claire and her dad in a fucking trailer that's buried underground. Like, big deal.
Claire's still here? Oh, that's good.
Yeah, she's around. She got a boyfriend and then didn't. And Wes, he's gone.
Aww.
Some prick. Got some girl pregnant in college. I don't know, man. Make that up. Yeah. And we have the cryokinesis lady who's called Tracy.
Nikki's sister.
Nikki's twin triplet sister. But she can also change her body into liquid as well, which came out because that's the logical extension of
that's being what Iceman
to freeze
does.
Things. Not as water though.
Yeah.
Does he really?
Can do.
Is that from a comics thing?
Emma Frost was the first one to do that when she possessed Iceman.
What made him go into like liquid form? And
Yep.
That's something I didn't know, and
I think that's the only time
I
I've
don't know how I feel about
seen it happen was in the Emma Frost issue. But he can do all sorts like that, so he absolutely could do that. Yeah, he melts into water all the time. Yeah, he's a mega level. Yeah, he could do all that.
Sorry, we're referring to.
Oh, sorry, we
yes. We had a bit of a chat about Omega level mutants on our TikTok earlier.
On our TikTok live.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's underused, and he's not a really good villain.
So he's the whole point of the show of season 4 is he's gonna
kill a bunch of people.
Kill people in the circus.
In the circus, basically.
And he doesn't, and that's it.
And they defeat him.
Oh, because they didn't know this was the finale. They just got cancelled after they finished.
And 4. I think this was also another half season where like this is volume 5 technically because season 3 was 2 volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a circus and it ends. There's one thing that the show does well. I quite like having. I'm struggling not to call them mutants, but they have heroes that have this kind of bizarre, like obviously superpower abilities, but they're not like. Not everything is like a blast or super strength or like destroying things. Like there's that woman who can remember everything, the waitress.
Cool power.
There's the
that's cool.
There's a woman in the circus who can manipulate tattoos.
That's a shit
It's
power.
kind of poop, yeah. But like, there's a woman who, there's a woman who can make people do things with her by suggestion.
That's a good one. I like that one.
And she ends up killing herself because she knows that Silas gonna take her, and she doesn't want him to have her power, so she kills herself. There's a woman who is referenced she's like in 2 episodes in the first season, but then she's more of a presence in the comic books or whatever come after, or novels that come afterwards, where she's basically like a technomancer, where she can
technopath
manipulate. Yeah, like technopath kind of, not like Micah who just uses with machines, but like this woman is like cyber in the emails. She can like create an email and send it.
I think that I would say technopath.
Is it kind of the same thing?
It's so they can use machines kind of psychically, and like be on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but on like an internet kind of scale.
Yeah.
What X-Men has that power?
The Indian one, Trinary.
So there's one like that. Yep. Okay, well,
that's fairly new. She was in X-Men Red, so fairly.
So
new
after this show,
way after, yeah.
There you go. So they have these ideas of these cool people, but then they just don't go anywhere.
It's just not. The logistics of this show don't seem to give characters the time
to do
some really good stories.
Because like the super strength person is Nikki. She's a relatively frail, blonde white woman. She can punch walls.
It's a really boring basic power in the comics. I don't like it. However, it works really well on TV. Jessica Jones.
Oh yeah.
It's such a simple kind of thing, but it really works with the character to just be like.
Yeah,
it's really fun,
and I love when it's a woman that has it.
Me too. I like that a lot.
I love the reversal of. Now we're getting to what we like about the show. There's a bad guy, played by Malcolm McDowell. I forget his name in the.
Oh yeah.
He's in the first season. His evil power is to heal other people.
Oh.
Which isn't a very bad power, but he makes it work, and I think it was great.
Doesn't that healing take away Peter's? No.
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe
that's the dad or something like that.
The dad took his powers.
Yeah, I'm getting confused now.
Yeah. So I think the show as a whole kind of bit off more than it could chew.
Yeah, it does seem like that.
So they had
it was a really cool concept, really cool characters,
good concept.
But didn't
pull it off.
The ability to deliver past season 1.
Nope.
Didn't. Really
and people you can blame the writer's strike for truncating the second season, but it was already going down. It was already shit.
Yeah.
They just didn't tell that story well. And the thing is, it had big shoes to fill because season 1 was so good.
Yeah.
And yet it just wasn't. And I'm so pissed off that it didn't do well.
So what was Heroes Reborn?
Oh my God. Heroes Reborn was, I think it was like 10, I think it was like literally set 10 years later. And they just kind of wanted to make a another volume, basically. I think he convinced the network to have another volume where it was just another story where a new group of superheroes had to learn about their abilities and then stop some Armageddon. You know what? I forget.
What a load of shit.
I mean, no.
Zachary Levi was in it.
Who was he in that one?
Luke Collins.
Don't remember.
No idea. Hero was still in it, apparently.
Yeah, so there were some characters like Hero and Matt.
And the mother. Fuck off.
And Angela Petrelli.
Yeah.
Like, they are in a few episodes just to sort of give credence to it, but...
To be like, okay.
And then I think people really hated it because it wasn't a continuation of the show.
Yeah.
It was just a sort of an end chapter. And the creator had said in an interview that he always meant it to be just one chapter. Like, here's an extra story, done and dusted. But then I'm thinking, like,
you're an idiot.
Why did you fucking call it Reborn then?
No,
why is it, if you want,
you're
if
an
it just,
idiot.
why not call it like finale or call it epilogue or something? No, call it Reborn. No.
Damn it. Micah grows up to be really sexy. I feel very.
In the show?
I feel very
actor?
inappropriate looking as a 28-year-old. It's like,
right.
I'm a cute little kid. It's like, not anymore, you're not.
Oh, and there's a deaf woman who's got a power. Guess what her power is? Synesthesia.
What's that mean?
That's like a real condition where I kind of think of it as like your senses get wires crossed a bit. So like you can hear colors.
Yeah.
Or you see certain sounds as like having different colors, whatever. But no, it's this woman's superpower. And she's in like a few episodes of the season 3. And I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about this because this is actually a real... Who's that? Micah. Hot ripped Micah.
Woo! That feels very inappropriate, but also...
Especially because he's a child in the show. That ended 10 years ago. Who's that?
That's him!
That's him again. I mean, if you were in a hit TV show and you had money and a personal trainer...
You now have titties.
Fucking Peter's got amnesia. Ugh, go home.
Ugh. Okay, so...
Man with Earth powers.
What are your expectations for the reboot?
You know what I would like to see if this was a reboot kind of thing? 0 characters from the original series. Mm-hmm. You can copy like...
But how are they going... The concept of it now is not original or interesting. Oh, a world where superheroes exist secretly. That is not going to be interesting TV in the world of the MCU. That's not a fun twist. It has to be the original
MCU, we've got The Boys.
All of it. Yeah, we've done it too many times. Whereas back then it was like, ooh, X-Men's in the cinema. Let's have them in TV.
Yeah.
It's not interesting now.
I mean, I hope he doesn't sort of just continue the story. Although, to be fair, if he did do that, he's going to do it hard, like go all out and just.
It's going to be so awful. Like you said with The Boys, like a big company that's looking to control people with powers. Like, yeah, we've done this so many times now in the 20 years since this show came out. We can't just do that. There's no. It's not an original twist.
I'm worried that the only reason that this got the green light is so we can see more blonde cheerleaders with superpowers.
Yeah.
I want to see Hayden Panettiere come back as Claire. She's got like 3 kids. She's gained weight. I don't know. Whatever.
Why not? That might be more interesting.
Yeah.
Do it as a comedy. Do it as like a workplace comedy office style of like a heroes kind of thing. I don't know.
I think what made the show really good, especially in the first season, was these people had to deal with their powers in the real world.
It was a real world with powers rather than powers. It was it felt like more of a subtle hint to it. Like, for a lot of it, Peter didn't know how his powers worked. And he was kind of guessing and falling.
A lot of them
it was
have
his
the same
journey that Nikki looking at things. I was like, am I just fucking crazy? All that kind of stuff. It wasn't powers. It was more about the people, which is always... It's got to be the characters first.
Agree, 100%. So, like, you know, Mike, his dad, he's got these superpowers of phasing, but he's still got to pay the bills.
I love that power. I would steal so much stuff all the time. Stealing. Great.
Which is why you will never have powers, because you...
There is no higher power judging me and giving them out. You either have them or you don't.
So you'd be a villain if you had superpowers in real life.
I would be self-interested. I would be the Emma Frost Catwoman,
Fair.
Self-entitled. Like, one thing they did, like that awful, shitty show, the X-Men spin-off show, which was so awful.
Gifted.
Oh, God, I hated it so much, but I did watch it all.
It had Bill from...
Yeah.
I kind of do so much to watch that.
Oh, it's awful. Don't watch it. One thing it did do really well is, like, you realize, like, it would absolutely happen. No one would trust or like people with powers. Absolutely.
The boys.
No, they kind of like them. They put them up as superheroes.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. People with powers, you want my gun, try and take it. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Gays, trans people, absolutely not. They would absolutely pass laws and eradicate them. It would.
So you have to have a
it
hero.
It would be horrible. I forget what my point was. Oh yes, so I would never be a hero because I would never try and change the masses' minds about us. Look at what the world's like. We've progressed so far, and they still like fucking hate gays and women and everything.
Well, Nick, with great power comes great responsibility.
I wouldn't know. I might secretly help a few people now and then if I saw it. Fine, but I'm not going to help the masses.
You'd be a closet
helping a world that hates and fears. Nah, mate. You can fuck right off. Absolutely not.
So when it comes down to which side would you join? Would you join Magneto's side, where you are the superior race?
Magneto was right.
Okay,
that's
so
what I'm going to say. But I wouldn't want to. I don't want to fight about it. But yeah.
Okay, no, I get it.
I'd hide away from it, and
no,
yeah. Professor X, Magneto, Emma Frost, I think, is the three pillars of that.
Yeah.
And hers is like, look after yourself and get what you can with your powers. Oh yeah, that's what I would do.
But you wouldn't hurt anybody. But
I wouldn't
helping anybody.
No, but I also, if my power can get me something from you or whatever, yeah, I'm gonna use my powers.
Yeah, I think that I think the responsibility would be too much for me. I'd have to. I wouldn't be able to cope.
Are you a Professor X? Are you an X-Man?
I'm an X-Man, unfortunately.
Yeah.
People ask me like, "Oh, what Harry Potter house are you?" I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm Gryffindor because I have to be." Like, I thought about it for a while, and it's like I kind of put myself to each of the other ones.
No comment.
I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm just a fucking hero. I just have to play the good guy. Sorry, I don't.
Anyway,
I know you're annoyed by that. Everyone's like so proud. Like, I'm Slytherin. Like, I'm
the hero.
I'm
such a hero.
Like, I'm okay with being Hufflepuff because I just do what I need to do, and I'm the stronger. And I'm like, no, I have to be. I'm sorry.
So, long story short, it had the potential to be a great show. Season 1 was a good show, and the rest of it was a shit show.
Kind of shit. Totally shit.
And the reboot's going to be a shit show.
Reboot's not
like a mess. It's
I
going
might
to
watch
be
out of interest, but I'm not going to go out of my way.
If it's available, if it's on one of the many streamings,
yeah,
I might.
I will watch and tell you if it's worth it.
Yeah, please do.
So that's my little breakdown, my little drunk rant of heroes. I'm sure that I've got things wrong. I haven't seen the show. I haven't actually seen the show in like over 10 years, so I'm sure I missed things out. If you actually want to write in and you have something to say, like tell me, dear listener, what is your favorite part? What's your least favorite part? Your favorite character? Who did I forget? Who needs to be talked about more? Please write in. Let me know. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to say. incompletegeekspodcast@gmail.com. Please write in with suggestions, comments, whatever you want to do to say hi to us. Please do.
Or you can message us on the socials. We're Instagram and TikTok @IncompleteGeeks. Follow, send us a message, tell us, make a video, tag us.
We do TikTok lives once in a while now.
I mean, we've only just figured out how to do a TikTok live.
We're doing it once in a while. But yes, if I got anything completely wrong or miss anything outrageous, please let me know. I'm sorry. I do get things wrong sometimes because I'm not a complete geek.
But you are working on it.
I am. Thank you for listening.
Bye. Do you want more gin in there?
Give me like a... Oh.
Nope.
Let it settle. Let it settle a little bit. Maybe